The war in Ukraine has left millions displaced, cities in ruins, and Europe on edge. Now, in November 2025, a controversial 28-point peace plan, backed by Donald Trump, claims it could end the war. But at what cost? Will Ukraine, Europe, or the world accept it? Today, we break down every detail of the plan itself, reactions, controversies, and what could happen next. Background: what is the 28-point plan? In mid-November 2025, reports emerged of a draft 28-point peace plan for Ukraine and Russia. It was reportedly influenced by Russian non-paper proposals, raising questions about bias. The plan was shared with Ukrainian leadership, who received it cautiously. European leaders immediately expressed concern about its fairness and balance. Analysts warn that the plan is a starting point for negotiations, not a binding treaty. Here's what the 28-point plan proposes, as reported publicly. The 28 points full breakdown. 1. Ukraine's sovereignty confirmed. 2. Non-aggression agreement between Russia, Ukraine, and Europe. 3. Russia will not invade neighbors. NATO expansion ends. 4. US-mediated Russia-NATO dialogue for de-escalation. 5. Ukraine receives reliable security guarantees. 6. Ukrainian armed forces limited to 600,000 personnel. 7. Ukraine constitutionally renounces NATO membership. 8. NATO troops prohibited on Ukrainian territory. 9. European fighter jets stationed in Poland as regional security alternative. 10. US security guarantees conditional on Ukraine's non-aggression. 11. Ukraine gets short-term EU market access. EU membership considered. 12. Russia relinquishes some territories beyond 5 key regions. 13. Ukraine withdraws troops from parts of Donetsk. Buffer zones created. 14. Frozen Russian assets used for Ukraine reconstruction and joint investment. 15. Economic reintegration of Russia into global economy. 16. Enforcement by a new peace council chaired by Trump. 17. Nuclear non-proliferation and offensive weapons limits. 18. Ukraine relinquish long-range strike capabilities. 19. Humanitarian programs, prisoner exchanges, refugee returns. 20. Secure Black Sea shipping and grain transport. 21. Ceasefire to begin immediately after signing. 22. Borders cannot be changed by force. Violations void security guarantees. 23. Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk recognized as Russian. Zaporizhia, Kherson frozen. 24. Amnesty for all wartime actions. No war crimes prosecution under this deal. 25. Ukrainian elections within 100 days of ceasefire. 26. Reconstruction funded by frozen assets and global investment. 27. Security and economic architecture integrated with Europe. Non-NATO defense. 28. Implementation blueprint. Troop withdrawal, monitoring, enforcement, reconstruction. Kyiv has response to the peace deal. Ukraine has not accepted the plan as is. Zelensky called it a vision rather than a final offer, signaling Kyiv will insist on key principles. Ukrainian officials reportedly pushed back on territorial concessions, NATO renunciation, and military limitations. Negotiations reduced the draft from 28 points to 19, indicating some controversial clauses are being revised. Kyiv remains firm. Any peace must preserve sovereignty and dignity. Brussels stand on the deal. European Union leaders reject the plan in its original form. Main objections: forced territorial concessions, reduced Ukrainian military, and rewarding aggression. Brussels insists Ukraine must decide its own future and any peace must comply with international law. European countries are prepared to support Ukraine financially and militarily if needed. EU and allies are pushing for a multilateral framework instead of a US, Russia-dominated deal. Quote graphic: Ursula von der Leyen, nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. Global stakes and controversies. Amnesty for wartime actions risks freeing Russia from accountability. Territorial concessions could set a dangerous precedent for wars of aggression. Economic reintegration of Russia could undermine sanctions and embolden future aggressions. Analysts warn that the plan in its current form could shift European security balance and weaken deterrence. What happens next? Plan has been revised to 19 points. Negotiations continue. Ukraine demands removal of territorial and military restrictions. Europe supports Ukraine's stance, emphasizing sovereignty and security guarantees. Possible outcomes: 1. Revised peace framework focusing on ceasefire, humanitarian relief, and reconstruction. 2. No deal continuation of war. 3. Partial ceasefire agreement, leaving long-term negotiations ongoing. In conclusion, the 28-point peace plan is a bold attempt to end the war, but is it just? Ukraine, Europe, and the world now face a historic decision. Peace may come, but at what price? What do you think? Could this plan work, or is it fundamentally flawed? Comment below, like, and subscribe for updates as the story unfolds.